Hello, and welcome to the 1218 Show. My name is Mike Wilson. I will be the host of the show. This is a podcast and web show. It's the premiere episode, so we're going to see what we come up with. See if it becomes something. See if it becomes nothing. In any case, we're going to have some fun while we do it. I will usually do a podcast. I'm going to try to do a podcast a week. I will make it relatively short when it's just me, 15 minutes or less. Speaking of which, let me check the time here. And then I will also have guests on. When we have guests on, obviously they will run longer. I have a lot of people lined up, a lot of people in mind. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a really interesting, some really interesting topics and some really interesting guests that I've talked to that would like to come on and give this show a try. So I don't have a specific topic that I'm going to talk about. I'm not a cooking podcast or a crime podcast, true crime, anything like that. This is a podcast about life, things that we're interested in. Some very lighthearted, a lot of comedy. I'm friends with a lot of comedians. I'm also a comedian. I'm a writer. I've done pretty much everything in the world when it comes to entertainment. So I'm sure you'll learn more about me as we go along. In the meantime, let me say that this is sponsored by Everybody Knows, which is a novel that I wrote. So if you haven't picked it up yet, it is available on Amazon. It's called Everybody Knows. It's by Mike Wilson, yours truly. So please feel free to go to Amazon, pick up a copy. It's getting pretty good reviews, and I'm pretty proud of it. So it's been out for a couple years now, but still holding weight and still gaining some fans. So feel free to check it out. I'm working on another novel right now, so that should be out hopefully sometime by the middle of this year. We'll see how that turns out. In the meantime. I do want to thank you for listening. I know that your time is valuable, so I won't take up much of it. It's never easy to ask somebody to give you their time, no matter what it is, whether it be in business, life, love, whatever the case is. So I sincerely thank you, and I truly appreciate what that you're taking the time to hear my voice, hear my perspective, hear what we have to say here. That being said, we are going to talk about everything at some point or another. I'm not going to even pretend to deny that my major influence is Joe Rogan. That guy he's got a lot of interests. I have some of the same interests, some different ones, so we'll tap into some other areas that he may not be covering from time to time. I'm certainly not naive to think that I'm just suddenly going to be Joe Rogan. This is going to take a lot of work and a lot of time, so... but he is probably my number one inspiration, and big shout out to him if he ever happens to listen to this. Today, though, I think that we have an interesting topic. We're right in the middle of the football playoffs. The AFC and NFC championship games are coming up this weekend, and I have a lot of conversations with a lot of people. I work in a sports bar, a lot of the time. I have for many years, and so I've had a million different conversations about sports and from every facet of it. And often, what comes up is when rules seem to be unfair or not. They just seem to be in the way of the game, let's say. So I think today what I'm going to talk about, because I came up with an idea that will never fly, because probably because people haven't thought about it, but it's interesting, and I would like to pick your brains. Tell me what you think about this particular idea. So we can all agree that the defense in the NFL, in football, American football, is supposed to stop the player from, advancing the ball in any way. And the rules over the past, especially 20 years, 15, have really stripped the defense of being able to do their job in a lot of ways. From the quarterback being able to advance and slide, and quarterback sacks and tuck rule. I mean, we can just go on and on with the continuous rules that they keep strapping on the defense, and it's created a higher scoring game. It's created more offense per game. It's created longer drives, more touchdowns. It's really become an offensive game, and some of the argument is that, well, people like to see scores, and that's relatively true. But people also don't like to see the referees or the rules be the reason that there are scores. I mean, if all you like is high scores, then watch basketball, because sometimes a football game might be 10-3, and that's perfectly all right with a real football fan. But the rule I want to talk about today is the rule that came up, I don't know when, somewhere in the last 10 years, maybe even just 5 or 6 years, where you're not allowed to hit a defenseless player. So let's look back. Let's talk about, do you remember the movie Jerry Maguire? And Rod Tidwell was pleading his case to Jerry Maguire, and he says, "I go across the middle, Jerry. Quarterback throws at me, get killed, catch the ball." Like, that was, his whole speech. By the way, there may be some cursing from time to time in this series of podcasts, so this is not I wouldn't say that this is going to be a PG show. So if I quote a movie or I'm talking passionately about something and some words slip in there, my apologies in advance. Anyway, so Rod Tidwell and Jerry Maguire having this argument, and there was a time in the movie where he said, he pleaded to Jerry, and he said, "This quarterback's going to get me killed, man." And the point of that was that the quarterbacks were throwing high and across the middle, which makes the receiver have to jump, so he's off his feet, he's in the air, he's extended, he catches the ball. That whole thing can take a second or two, plenty of time for the speed of an NFL defender to, knock his block off, essentially. And that used to be okay. That used to be the rule. Like, that used to be the goal. There was a ESPN series called Jacked Up, and most of the time it was plays like that. Now, the reason I bring that up is those rules have since changed. They don't allow the defense to hit a defenseless player. My problem with that is exactly their job. They are supposed to hit the player with the ball. As long as they have touched the ball. You can't hit them before they touch the ball. That's always been the rule. But now they can catch the ball and hold on to it for a second or two or whatever it is until they get turned around and no longer become defenseless. And it's supposedly the defender's job to pull up or to be careful or to not hit. Now, I don't want to see anybody get hurt any more than the next guy does. I don't want to see major injuries, those kinds of things. But that is part of the excitement. That's why. That's you don't go to NASCAR to just watch them go around in a circle. You hope there's a crash. You don't want anybody to die, but you hope there's a crash. It's kind of a weird thing that we humans enjoy, right? We want, if you go to a bullfight, you kind of wish the bull didn't die, but you also want to see the matador get gored but not killed. Like, it's a weird thing that we want. So my point is, you don't want to see the defender or the receiver get hurt. But by putting the rule that the defender cannot hit him, then you've taken away part of the game. You've taken away the opportunity for the defender to defend his half of the field, his end zone, from scoring. And so I've thought over and over. Well, how do you fix this? Well, the point is to protect the receivers, and stop them from injury, because there was quite a few people where people get knocked out or they get a concussion or whatever. And I understand that, but the referee's job is not to protect the players. That is the player's job. That is the equipment's job. That's your helmet's job, your shoulder pad's job. That's your teammate's job. That's your job to make sure that you're protected. The referee's job is to call a fair game. And they've taken that title and moved it to protect the players as well. And that's too much. They shouldn't have to do that. It's not necessary. The rules are in place to protect the players, but this defenseless player thing has gotten way out of control and out of hand, and it's allowing for players to catch the ball and to advance it, and without much fear anymore. And there used to be fear, like I mentioned earlier in the Jerry Maguire. He says the quarterback's going to get me killed, man. Well, that used to be a big thing between quarterbacks and receivers. Receivers would get pissed off if their quarterback threw at them high and across the middle. The receivers would get angry, and they would be spats between quarterbacks and receivers if the quarterback wasn't putting the ball where it needed to be. That being said, the point is, it's the quarterback's job to protect the receiver, not the defenders to lay up, and not the referees to throw a flag. If the quarterback throws a dangerous pass to his receiver catches it and gets lit up, that's the quarterback's fault. So, I'm throwing this out there for you to think about. What if, anytime they would throw a flag on a defender hitting a defenseless player, the defense and the defender were not the ones that get penalized, but the quarterback was. Process that for a second and think about it. Again, it'll never happen, but the fault is on the quarterback. It's not on the defender, and it's probably not on the receiver unless he messed up his route. The fault is on the quarterback. If the quarterback throws him a pass and the defender gets to him before he has a chance to get his footing and get turned around, he has every right to knock the hell out of him. If that flag was thrown because he was a defensive player on the quarterback, how much would that change the game? How much different would a quarterback, when they've made all these rules to continue stripping the defense of opportunities to slow down the advancement of the ball, what if they started making some rules that actually protected the defense or protected the rules of the game so that the defense could do what they wanted to do? It's just something I've been thinking about, and I think that it would be really an interesting idea to explore. I don't even know how to get this to the NFL head office, and again, there's no way people would go for it because, well, nobody wants to see the quarterback get flagged. I mean, you know, if Tom Brady got a flag every time he threw a ball up, then people would be up in arms, like, how can you flag Tom Brady and all this? Well, that's part of the quarterback's job. It's always been part of the quarterback's job. Protect your receivers. The offensive line protects the quarterback protects his receivers by throwing safe balls. So, I just wanted to throw that out there into the world and into the universe. Something to talk about, something to debate about. I don't think it could happen or would happen. And there's going to be plenty of people that say, yeah, but it's just as easy for the defender to not. But that's the point. The receiver should be a little bit scared if he's getting crappy balls thrown at him, if he's tossed up into the into the midair in the middle of the field and there's 2 or 3 defenders coming at him. They should not have to pull up. The quarterback should not have thrown the ball or should have placed it in a better spot for him to catch. So that's just that's kind of what I wanted to. For my very first episode, I figured it's football season. We're getting down to the wire. Super Bowl's coming up. There's only 4 teams left. That's a rule that I can't stand. This hitting a defenseless player stuff. If they got the ball, they're open game as far as I'm concerned. That's the way it was when I played. And I only played in high school. I'm not trying to pretend I was ever an NFL player or anything. But that's the original game. They're stealing the heart of the game, and they're doing it slowly, so that these young people who grow up and they're like, oh yeah, I'm a fan of this team or that team or whatever. If they watched a game from 1990, even 2002. Or 1985, watch those games, every single play would be a flag. It was so much more violent and so much more aggressive because that's the purpose of the game. And it's weird to think that, there's UFC fights. I mean, there's no those guys beat the hell out of each other. They knock each other out. You think they don't have concussions and stuff. The only thing that the ref's there to do basically is make sure they don't get killed. So why have we wanted to pull back the risk of getting injury? You know what you sign up for when you play the game. People do. We all do. As long as we have our helmets and shoulder pads and cups, whatever it is that you want to protect yourself, that's all. You could get knocked out. Hell, I played for 10 years through Little League in high school, and there were 2 times that I got knocked unconscious in those years. Both of them were in high school. Both of them were in practice. But when you're going full speed and somebody else is going full speed, sometimes it just, you just collide and boom, that's it. So it happens. And I've probably had some concussions, and I'm not saying that that's good. I'm not saying that it's smart, but I knew the risk going in, and I knew, that's the acceptable. It was worth it to me. I enjoyed the game so much that it was worth it to me. It's worth it to these guys. Trust me, it's worth it to these guys. There's no one that would return the glory of their game days to stop having a concussion. And if they would, there have been some players in recent years that have said, you know what, it's too violent, too dangerous. I'm not going to play this game. I can go and work or do my own thing or whatever. And God bless them. It's totally a choice. For people to think that it's not a choice is crazy as well. If you were playing in the NFL, you've chosen to be there. You worked your ass off to get there, and you're making the choice to play. If it became more violent, maybe more people wouldn't play. I don't know. But this has all been in the last 10, 12 years. And then you're going to have the arguments that, the science is saying that, these concussions, they cause long-term damage and they do this, that, and the other. Okay, fine. Just keep putting that information out there. If these guys don't want to play because that information is out there, well, if you get X amount of concussions and, your late-term, brain damage and all these kinds of things, fair enough. You think the UFC guys aren't worried about that? You think the other combat sports aren't aware of the dangers and faults of it? Of course they are. But you're ruining the game. You're taking the defense completely out of it. Defense used to win ball games, and you're taking that away from them. Because you're not allowed them to do anything. They can't sack a quarterback. If they touch a guy's helmet, it's a flag. If they hit a defenseless player, if the quarterback slides, he gets 2-3 more yards with a slide. It's ridiculous. But this particular one, we're going to talk specifically about this hitting a defensive player, and I just think that would be an interesting thing. Flag the quarterback, not the defense. So, this is the first episode of my the 1218 show of my podcast and web series. My name is Mike Wilson. I will be your host. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope I didn't stutter around too much. I will get better, I promise. But again, I thank you for your time, and I hope everyone out there is safe, healthy, and looking forward to the next one. Take care. Peace.